Hello everybody, BMS here, and welcome back to the final chapter of Let's Play Mortal Kombat Falcon's Revenge. Now before we get started, we're going to be playing this round on one of the advanced difficulties. And just as with Battle Clash, we need to input a code to unlock them. So to unlock the quote-unquote real mode, you need to press B-A-L-L, that's right, BALL, on Controller 2 at the title screen. Doing so will give you that nifty reddish-orange tint to the background as well. Okay, so since the last round we went through on the normal difficulty with Mike Anderson and the ST Falcon, this round we're going to be playing through on high mode difficulty with the unlockable ST, the Tornado. And of course it comes complete with its own training mode. Thankfully, however, there are only 3 lessons as opposed to the 7 that you have to go through with the Falcon. So go ahead and pick our ST and our difficulty here and we'll get started. Now, I may have mentioned this before, but, you know, for a game where all you have to do is point a huge-ass plastic bazooka at your TV and press a button, they did a pretty damn good job at making the two STs play very differently from each other. The Tornado has a couple of moves at its disposal that the Falcon doesn't, which are what these 3 lessons are basically designed to teach you, naturally. Now, I'll try not to repeat what you're reading about on here, but, you know, kind of go in-depth with it, you know what I'm saying? So, the Tornado, in my personal opinion, is a much more versatile ST than the Falcon. You just need to be careful since, as you just read, your shields are only about half as strong as the Falcon's, which basically means you can't take much punishment. Alright, so Lesson 1, the Super Turbo Shot. Well, let's see if I can sum this up here. The Super Turbo is probably the most useful attack in the game, and as you may have gathered, only the Tornado can use it. Now, to understand how most of the nifty little tricks that the Tornado can use work, such as the Super Turbo Shot, you need to get acquainted with the new heads-up display we have. Now, you'll notice that unlike the Falcon, which had the main charge bar on top with the energy bolt level meter directly below it, the Tornado has the same main charging bar, but 10 of what are called energy lamps. Now, each energy lamp represents how many Super Turbo shots you have stored up. Simple enough, right? Now, what makes the Super Turbo so damned useful is that they can, number 1, be fired in rapid succession, number 2, they can destroy any of the pink flashing bullets that the enemies fire at you, and finally, they can stun an enemy if you hit them center mass. So essentially, they're basically a level 1 energy bolt from the Falcon with rapid fire. Very handy indeed. Now this next lesson is about the Hyper Shot, another Tornado exclusive. To sum this one up, it allows you to charge up your energy lamps and fire them off in one massive shot. And if you'll notice that when the energy lamps are being charged up, they're color coordinated. Also notice that unlike Mike Anderson, our new pilot, Carol Eugene, is a pushy hussy. Apparently, she's the one that wears the pants on this training ground and not Mike Anderson. Poor guy. Now, back to the Hyper Shot here. A level 3 Hyper Shot is equal to a level 1 energy bolt from the Falcon, just as a level 5 Hyper Shot is a level 2 from the Falcon. And, you know, to give you an example of how much stronger the Tornado is, a level 6 Hyper Shot is equal to 1 treble energy bolt. Now at levels 7 to 9, the shot will create a small explosion, similar to what you get when you fire a bomb off, as you saw earlier. Now maximum charged Hyper Shot is usually enough to destroy most of the enemy STs with 1 shot, while they have full health, if you can hit the right part of their body, which is usually center mass. But even if you miss, it instantly destroys any of the limbs that it does hit, not to mention it can pierce any type of armor to deal damage, such as the closed mouths of Vervius' second form, and you can even take about half of Giga-Desp's first form life away, with 1 maximum Hyper Shot just by shooting at it. Now, the only downside to this, as I've just shown you here, the charge time required to power all 10 lamps is pretty unreal. And that makes it highly impractical to try and charge it to the max on high mode. This is where you need to use a little bit more strategy than you would with the Falcon. Also notice that on real mode you can select which boss battle you want to take on first, unlike normal mode in which it's static. Spiffy, right? Okay, so now that we've got that training nonsense out of the way, we can move on to the main game. Now I hope you're not under the impression that this is going to be like the high mode for Battle Clash, which was a cakewalk by the way. Because it's not. High mode in Mortal Kombat is designed to make you go through at least 5 sets of batteries before you finally beat it. It really is an insane challenge, all bullshit aside. So what is it that makes it so tough? Why, I'm glad you asked. There's actually a number of factors that come into play on high mode that allows it to repeatedly curb stomp your ass. First off, the enemies attack almost constantly, with super strong attacks. The time required for them to charge an attack has been reduced. They no longer have to remain stationary when they fire something off at you, and to top it all off, aside from the normal bomb you get at the end of each level, you will never get an item from any of these fuckers. So pretty much, all this culminates into one massive butt-raping experience. Thankfully, the first 3 bosses we face aren't too bad, even on high mode. Take Garum here, for example. Sure, he attacks constantly now, but he's still a massive pushover. The only thing you really have to watch out for with this guy is his double rocket punch when he gets low on health, as that's a one-hit knockout. But other than that, just be in a constant defensive pattern and you'll take him down without much trouble at all. Also, please forgive some of the lackluster edits I made so I could include the dialogue here. I had to edit it in because the dialogue doesn't happen on any of the remold difficulties. And I mean, let's face it, with a game like this, you guys would be completely lost without being able to follow along with the story. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense otherwise, right? Anybody? Okay, moving on. So, 1 boss down and only 12 more to go. Now, Mr. Chada and his ST Saimang here are just like his brother, in that aside from attacking constantly, don't really bring much of anything new to the table in terms of actual attacks. Now, he does have a super attack that you have to watch out for, but it's extremely easy to defend against, so it should pose no problem at all. The biggest challenge with this guy is actually being able to hit him now, as he's constantly moving around, jumping, doing flips, and all that other acrobatic shit that we all love so well. He's basically like Lorca for Battle Clash. Also, apparently the only way he can fire off turbo shots at us is to smack his ass. How original. Just remember to constantly defend against his attacks and you should be fine. Keep in mind that if you're able to hit any of the ST center mass with the Hyper Shot, they'll freeze in one place for a split second, hopefully giving you enough time to charge up another decent attack. Just like so. Now, try to keep in mind, in fact, I think I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again anyway, this is not as easy on an actual console as I'm making it look with using an emulator here. I can't stress that enough, you see. I mean, when you're playing with an actual scope, there's no crosshair or anything like that, plus your field of vision is restricted, and it's just an all-around different experience. Now, I'm not saying that it's a piece of cake on an emulator, because it's not. It's just not as brutal with the console. You know what I mean? But, anywho, I think I've made my point with that. And besides, we've made it to Wong, who is the last quote-unquote easy boss we're going to come across for a long time. After this, shit gets real. I mean, it is real mode after all. What'd you expect? And that right there is why I like Carol Eugene as a pilot a lot more than Mike Anderson. She actually gives you some pretty damned useful tips, such as waiting until the last possible second to defend, that way you can eliminate multiple shots with only one blast. Anywho, back to the battle. Wong on this difficulty can be pretty rough if you let the fight drag on, so it's best to end things quickly. See, I'm just a fountain of information with this shit, aren't I? Also, I just got very fucking lucky there, being able to charge a level 7 Hyper Shot, which destroyed one of his arms and his head cannon. Don't count on being able to do that every time. Oh, and this right here is his special attack. Normally both of his arms start to spin, fire shit off, and then he'll shoot something out of his head cannon at you. Which, if I'm not mistaken, if only half of what he fires at you hits, you're dead. Luckily for us, we kinda fucked him up early on, so we didn't have to worry about that. Anywho, Dayan and his ST are down for the count, and we're ready for the real fights to begin. Also, a point of interest is that this is one of the few bosses that Carol will actually talk back with. Most of the time she just ignores their dumbass, which, can't really say I blame her on that one. Also, this shit that you're seeing about getting the V system, it never happened. You're imagining things right now. Actually, what really happened was that I was just too lazy to edit that out of the dialogue. So, sue me, I guess. Alright, so here we are near the top of Babel, and shit has just gotten real. You can tell because he's gold and very mean looking. Now, as I said before, this is where things start to get really difficult. This guy can fire a ton of crap at you, and he's constantly moving around the screen at a high rate of speed, which makes hitting him a royal pain in the ass. This guy took me about 6 tries when I went through high mode as a kid. So just get ready for a whoopin', cause you're gonna get one. So if you were paying attention to the text, you probably noticed that Carol mentioned something about how his wings are indestructible. Not entirely accurate. In fact, I think I disproved this with the Falcon, but the Tornado has two methods you can use to destroy his wings. Method number 1, fire a level 10 hyper shot at one, or the second method, although not always the easiest. If you'll notice in his armpit region, there's a bunch of wires that go from his body to his wings. Sometimes he'll tilt his wings just right, exposing the wires enough to where you can damage them, and eventually it will destroy the wing. Just as you saw a couple seconds ago. Now, he didn't use a super attack here, but rest assured it's unmistakable, and has ended me more times than I care to count, so I'll be sure to show that off in a bonus video. And here we have yet another unique ability to the Tornado. Unlike the Falcon, which is capable of fast interplanetary travel, yet for some strange reason just can't quite seem to reach escape velocity from the Earth, the Tornado can! Which basically means, you know, whoop whoop I guess. And at least we don't need to have poor Rolla fly in and tow our useless ass to safety. That's another bonus too, I guess. Anywho, we finally left the Earth and arrived on the Moon for our duel with Viscount, which, as I mentioned in the first round, I have been informed by somebody who is completely British that it is indeed Viscount, not Viscount. But what can you do? I mean, damn it, we're Americans, and we pronounce shit how it's spelled, even if it's completely wrong. Fuck yeah! Now, our little battle with Griffin was bad, but this guy is even worse, if for no other reason, the simple fact that this guy is still an arrogant asshole. An asshole whom I have no doubt is the love child of Jim Carrey, notice the rubber type face, and the Joker, cue the overly exaggerated smile. All bullshit aside though, on high mode Viscount gives you a very good run for your money, mainly because he now has the ability to fire turbo shots at about the same rate as you, and they will drain your life all the way before you even know it. Your best bet here is to try, and I do emphasize try, to shoot him either center mass with a super turbo shot, as that will cancel his barrage of turbo-y goodness. Other than that, until you can destroy his cannon, this is a game of pure defense. Very rare is it that you'll have the option to charge. This is where that little bit of strategy that I mentioned at the beginning comes into play. A good rule of thumb for all these high mode fights is when you need to charge, throw a bomb out there. The damage it does is minimal, however it destroys all on-screen shots and freezes the boss for a second or two, giving you that much-needed charge time. It works doubly well with Mr. Viscount here, as if you fire a bomb when he's not attacking, he'll dash far off the screen, allowing you to charge at least 6 of your energy lamps up. Now once you destroy his arm cannon, it's a piece of cake from here on. Destroy his shield when he throws it at you, and you're home free. Just try to make sure not to destroy both of his legs, as he'll go berserk with turbo shots on you, so remember, take out his arm cannon, his shield, maybe one of his legs, but from there on, you're good to go. Now, he didn't use his super attack on me here, which is exactly the same as it was in Battle Clash, and it basically equates to a one-hit kill on us here. So we got rather lucky. And there, you noticed I destroyed his other leg, and he went nuts with the damn turbo shots on me there. So yeah, don't do that. So really, basically what I'm trying to say here is the length and difficulty of this battle all depends on how fast you can destroy his arm cannon. Because like I said, after that, it's all downhill. And look at that, he's still upset that a two-seater ST beat him and he wants a rematch. I guess we'll just have to wait for the sequel! Even though we've already been waiting 18 years for said sequel. And look, we're on Mars, and not an enemy in sight. I wonder what could possibly happen. Well, spank my ass. I certainly didn't see that one coming. I mean, golly gee, does this game know how to keep you on edge or what? Oh, and look at that! Carol knows that this Anubis is a clone? I mean, how could she possibly know that? It's almost as if she's got a little bit of that. You know, they say you can get that, albeit at a very high price. But what does that have to do with anything? I don't know. Maybe foreshadowing, perhaps? Hell, you could cut the tension of this story with a knife. Now let's get down to business. Thanatos on high mode can be a pain in the ass if he chooses to use his strong attacks. Fortunately for us, however, he decided to play nice this time. So really the only thing we need to watch out for here is when he charges up his arm attacks, as most of the time he'll throw out 2 bullets instead of 1. Now instead of trying to shoot them when they're both at opposite ends of the screen, follow Carol's previous advice and wait until the last moment before they hit you. And then they'll both come back to the center of the screen, letting you destroy both of them with only 1 shot, as you see there. Which is a good rule of thumb for 90% of these bosses that fire multiple shots that fly off in different directions. 9 times out of 10 they'll return to the center of the screen, and that's your time to defend. Also note, Mr. Anubis seemed to have recovered from his amnesia there and remembered who Carol was. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to speak it because he just got blown into 1,000 bits. Granted, he's a cyborg and shouldn't have amnesia, but that's a minor plot hole that we will overlook for now. Anywho, with Thanatos down, I'm going to go ahead and follow suit with what I did during the Falcon run and split this run up into 2 parts at this point. So stay tuned, there's only 1 video left of our quest to rid the solar system of the aliens that have green skin, pointy ears, and dangerous robotic monstrosities that just happen to be in the forms of creatures found right here on Earth. Even though they're alien! Don't try to work logic into it, you'll just rot your brain! This has been BMS, see you next time. Also note, another minor typo in which they managed to misspell 2 words in the same line. That right there takes talent. American talent.